Everyone dreams of living an uncommon life, and the best asset you have to achieve your dreams is you. Welcome to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living uncommonly. We're also going to give you some tools and strategies for building wealth and for pursuing an uncommon path that is uniquely right for you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast, where I'm your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Brian Dewhurst.
Welcome back. It's a simple step. It's quick. It's easy. It's just in and out.
This is a big one.
This is a big one. And it's something that I think a lot of people don't struggle with, but I think probably would be refreshing just to talk through. And it is affirming your annual budget for your business or even personal.
Yeah, I think on so many levels, you have to have a budget. And there's a talking head out there in our industry who looks somewhat like Philip, and I'll leave it at that. But he's like huge on this, like, oh, you don't need a budget, you just need cash flow. And it's just like, I don't know. I think it's like one of the dumbest things you could say. I get it. Like if you make a lot of money, yeah, you probably don't need a budget. But like, think about Amazon. Do you think they have a budget? I guarantee you they have a budget. And that's why they're so
locked
big. And it's dialed in to the penny, So the idea that like the more money you make, the more the need for a budget goes out the window, I think is just the wrong thing to say. Yeah. Because it seems like the more people we deal with and the bigger businesses, the more dialed in their budgets are. So kind of speaking about it from the business aspect of it, and we're kind of coming at that point. But also I think just as, families with obvious feel of inflation that everybody's experienced over the last, 18 months. I think it's just always good at year end coming into a new year to reaffirm the budget. Like, where's all our money going? Did we get a raise? Did somebody lose their job? Like, do we need to pivot? What's important to us? What are our goals? Is our budget aligned with our goals? And then I think, that's just a huge part of recalibrating for the year. And then, in more transparency, because we're getting a lot of feedback that when we talk about how we manage our business or what we do personally is helpful to people. One of the steps that I want to take for our business this year is really taking like last year's expenses and projecting that forward, having like an estimated budget and then truing it up to actual spending on a weekly basis. And so I've learned that kind of from some other larger business owners. And that's kind of the next evolution that I want to take for our business is where you have the budget for the year, pro forma, or, whatever buzzword you want to use to describe that, but where you're truing it up and marking yourself to that budget on a weekly basis. And so, I just think it's a good time of the year to reassess. Reaffirm.
Yeah, it's a good time as well as, if you talk about personally, like we always say, the two biggest factors in retirement are when you're going to die and how much do you spend every month, which if you know when you're going to die, we have a lot more things to talk about than how much you spend. So we usually just focus on, well, how much are you spending? And that's one thing that you can control. And so to try to understand how that is. Now, what I will say personally is as you are building a budget, oftentimes when you're trying to cut back and be super stringent on your budget, it feels suffocating. But the more times you do that, the more months that you are in line with your budget, it gets easier. And so it's almost like a professional athlete who's been eating tons and tons of food, but they've been working out like crazy. Well, a lot of times after they get done working out like crazy out of graduation or whatever, they keep eating like they're eating. And so they have to start titrating themselves off of the food that they've been eating. So that's my analogy. So if you think about your budget, you've been spending a lot. Now you're going to cut back. Man, it really stinks for the first couple months, but after a while, you kind of get used to that. So affirming your budget and making sure everybody's on the same page, not only as a personal, you and your spouse, but also in a business to make sure all of the things that you can account for are going to stay in budget is really powerful for moving forward. And so, I think weekly is really a good thing. We got 30 seconds, so figure this out. What do you do if you are off budget? like in a week?
Man, I wasn't prepared for that question this late in a simple step, but I do think, just before I answer that, I do think it is powerful to track your numbers as a business weekly.
Yeah.
The big companies, I mean, they have people, they pay all these different people and accounting and all these. I mean, they're tracking their numbers daily. I mean, they report on them monthly and quarterly, but they're really tracking and recording everything daily. Right. So anyways, if you're not tracking your numbers as a business, more frequently than monthly, then I think that should be something you could think about. If you're off budget, I think you have to make hard decisions, have conversations, and I think that's also part of planning is, what are the milestones you're trying to achieve? Like if you're investing in a new product or service, or you're adding an expense for a position or something like that.
Right.
And you're seeing a lot of companies lay people off right now. So I think, managing and tracking a budget is super important so that maybe things don't come to that, where you're eliminating jobs or, closing plants and all those different things that we're kind of starting to see. So maybe how I answer that. What do you think?
I think that's good. It's been 6 minutes. We've been 1 minute over. What
might have been a duo cast. It was in the mid range, but
it was in the mid range. You got a bonus extra couple of seconds. So you're listening to Uncommon Wealth Podcast. I've been your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Brian Dewhurst.
Till next time. Thanks for listening.
That's all for this episode, brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.